They are searching for the break in the clouds.
So everything that I have is gone.
Already in the year of a pandemic, weathering each figurative storm.
I don't think I could explain it in words. I just lost my home.
Only to be taken out by a real one.
The wind was so strong. This is some power.
And that power can be seen in the destruction at this apartment complex in Arlington on Tuesday night.
It's really bad. All the AC units got blown off the house.
They're all over the place. They're over there on the parkway. They're right over here in the back.
Walls are crumbling. Families are scrambling.
So we're just trying to save as much as we can right now.
Minerva Rios and her sons are figuring out what's worth saving before the roof caves in.
The upstairs is gone. It's like it's buffeting down.
While experts figure out if this was a tornado, families are figuring out what's next.
I don't know from here. I don't know where we're going to go.
We've got 75 displaced families at this point.
Evelyn Jones is one of those displaced. She already survived 3 heart attacks in the last couple years.
And I didn't need another one.
She has to leave the apartment that was her refuge the last 8 months during the pandemic.
Lord, if it's my time to go, it's just my time to go.
There is never a good time to lose everything, but there are worse times.
My turkey's still in the sink, still defrosting.
It's 2 days before Thanksgiving. Minerva could use that break in the clouds.
Oh, you have me so much emotions right now. You don't know.
If thankful is the right word, we should be thankful nobody died and nobody was badly hurt. The Red Cross is working to house these families. It feels almost unfairly fitting that the year would end like this.
It's something that you'll never forget. You'll never forget it.
Sometime and somewhere there is a break in the clouds, because families can only weather so much. In Arlington, I'm Jobin Paniker.
There are lots of good reasons to be stressed right now, but not in Betty Scott's yard.
This is so exciting.
You see, most people
don't know I exist.
are unaware that they can find peace and serenity on this Dallas lawn.
Ready? Yes. There's nothing more uniting as music.
Scott is a world champion auto harpist, and twice a week she plays here on her porch with fellow members of the Dallas Folk Music Society.
It's not hillbilly strum stuff. She can play classical, Bach, Beethoven. Who does that?
So admission is free, and many show up or just stop to listen.
It's what keeps me sane.
And sane is a hard word to come by in a pandemic. Scott knows that.
I have hardly been out of this house since the last day of February.
But if she can find joy,
we are all so insecure and so unsettled
on her porch,
not knowing what's safe and what isn't safe.
Through music,
it's like all of the worries are gone. You can deal with those later.
Then she wants to share. In Dallas, I'm Matt Howard.
It's intense. It's really intense.
The intense display appeared Thursday morning. Faces and names and flowers on a tennis court fence in University Park.
All these fresh flowers, you can kind of smell them as if they're having a funeral all over again.
A funeral for 185 black names and faces.
You know, this is a shocking message. It's a lot of lives. A lot of lives killed because of the color of their skin.
Addie Mae Collins.
It's the work of Alicia Rico and Emily Clark.
I was just not prepared for how many faces there would really be.
Who wanted their neighborhood to make a statement about Black Lives Lost.
Virgil Lamar Ware.
As a mother, I would want the reaction to be to say their name.
Megan Hockaday.
To look in their eyes and for their lives to have mattered.
It didn't take long for someone to take offense at this fence.
Looks like it's pretty one-sided to me.
He wouldn't give his name, but called this all one-sided. Placed a red, white, and blue lives matter sign in front, and when someone removed it...
Where'd my sign go that was just here?
I didn't touch your sign.
Came back with a second.
This is about as one-sided as you could possibly get.
I don't want to argue in front of a news camera, but I'd love to listen, hear your side, you can hear mine.
If you would put up as many whites that were killed by blacks, I'll sit down with coffee and talk to you.
What they couldn't get him to understand
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
is that this isn't meant to be anti-police. and includes names like Emmett Till, murdered in 1955 because he whistled at a white woman, and the 4 young girls killed in Alabama when the KKK blew up their church in 1963.
Lives who didn't get a chance, lives wasted.
Tawana and Gary Holland got the message, thankful to see this in one of the richest and whitest corners of Dallas.
Frankly relieved that somebody saw the need to do this.
When the arguments were over and everyone left,
Really gotta go.
2 teenage girls removed that red, white, and blue sign. Organizers wish they hadn't, because they don't want this fence to divide people. They want us all to look at these faces and names and figure out how to get on the same side. In University Park, I'm Kevin Reese.
Imagine the front of a building as a canvas.
This is our building, yes.
And nothing sends a message like a name.
The name is everything.
Jennifer's group had signs ordered and installed, all but one.
Right here in the middle.
The city of the colony had a problem with one word on that sign.
Yes, one word.
Penis.
All of a sudden, everybody clams up.
Except for Dr. Nicole Bush.
It's just a word.
A pediatric neurologist who's done thousands of surgeries in the same building for a birth defect so common, the world comes here to the Hypospadia Specialty Center. The name of their nonprofit is Operation Happiness.
Happiness, H-A-P-P-E-N-I-S. You're going to call your charity that? I really had a lot of people question the name that we came up with.
They help families deal with the isolation and shame that comes with a penis birth defect.
It's a very passionate subject.
The city did not do interviews, but says it is not opposed to what the group does, just the word they wish to display.
One word. One body part.
One section. Section 6258, on prohibited signs, any sign containing graffiti, obscene, indecent, or immoral words.
Is it indecent?
No.
Is it immoral?
No.
Is it obscene?
No.
But it is now up for an appeal to the city's sign board.
I think this is the epitome of irony that we can't talk about a body part that half of the world has.
Fighting the stigma by fighting for a name. Because to them, what is not here may be sending a bigger message.
Well, you can't say happiness without saying penis.
In the colony, I'm Jobin Panic.
I can't imagine living anywhere else.
Around here, where we come from and who we are often one answer. One very complex answer.
I'm Clayton Clarity.
And this is the home Clayton's grandparents built in 1958 and where he was raised.
It's always been the white and black house on the corner, the G house, the G family. They literally walked through these doors, sat on this porch, watered this yard.
And watched a 5-year-old Clayton take the 2-minute walk to the neighborhood school.
And I started kindergarten there 45 years ago.
Hamilton Park was one of the country's first planned black neighborhoods, a refuge for families who escaped racial violence in the 1950s. This family friend and neighbor lived through it, and his name is Thomas Jefferson.
And the best way to discourage a move in, just bomb the place. I'll burn it down.
Black families were being bombed out of their homes in South Dallas. Families like Clayton's grandparents came here to live peacefully. When they died, it felt like so did the family legacy.
The best feeling in the world would be to get a hug from my grandmother or my grandfather.
It still hurts. But the best legacies are built step by step. When Clayton walks out the door of his family home in a suit, in the triple-digit Texas sun, you are seeing legacy come full circle.
I found out on Thursday, July 16th.
The walk he's taken hundreds of times, now hundreds more.
This is the same steps I took 45 years ago.
Clayton is now Hamilton Park's newest assistant principal.
It feels good to wear the same shirt, says Hamilton Park on it, at 50 and it did at 5.
But news does not travel around here as fast as Clayton.
You want some news?
I do.
He got the job.
He got the job. I am so. He got it.
Working at the school he went to, living in the neighborhood he grew up in the home of the people who raised him.
I want to make sure I don't let them down. I don't fail them.
It is not just places, but people who make Clayton who he is. His grandparents were teachers, their parents were teachers, and their parents were slaves.
What kind of story is that? That's one hell of a story.
In Dallas, where legacy comes full circle. I'm Jobin Paniker.
In a moment, you'll hear Ruby's songs.
It's actually a song I'm working on called Two Names.
Songs which reflect her pain, which reflect her life.
Run, you got it. Oh, she beat you.
Which reflect her hopes for a better life.
You better catch up.
It's already happening. Ruby's story is about strength and survival. It's about breaking free. It's about that feeling you get when you know you've turned the corner from darkness. The music helps.
God, I don't want to live like this anymore. There's gotta be
her music.
Better life than this. There's gotta be another way out of here.
Her words.
A wound for it to heal, you know, sometimes you gotta get air. So it has to be brought up. It has to be brought to the surface.
The nightmare. Ruby wants you to know about it. It's why when I first met her, she wanted to share her story of domestic violence. It was at the hands of her ex-boyfriend, she tells me.
Then maybe I'll fall hard. Something tough to break me. Something sharp to cut into my insides and bleed out all this pain. Trauma, and maybe a lot of us who don't survive. So, at least I did.
At least you did. Were there moments where you thought maybe you
There was moments I wished I didn't. Yeah. There was moments I just wished I'd die, so I could just get away from it.
She got away 3 years ago and found a way to express her pain through her music.
You're my biggest regret.
To make a living through her music. The people we meet in this world, sometimes by chance. The people we wouldn't have met if we didn't stop and listen.
Thank you.
Those life-affirming connections.
What's your story?
Just like anybody else's. I'm just a human here.
This first story we're sharing with you about Ruby will lead us to our next story. It's a series we're calling Connections. We don't know who we'll profile next. We haven't met that person yet. Just wait, we will. We'll meet him or her together, perhaps through a chance encounter.
Hello, how's it going?
The connections we make. Every dollar helps.
Hello. In the end, we all go. Thank you. If it means enough to you to give it to me, thank you.
Ruby wants to thank every one of you who has stopped and listened. I learned that Ruby's middle name is Tuesday and that she goes by Ruby Tuesday. Think Rolling Stones.
Damn leaves. I'm gonna slip. I'm gonna end up slipping on all these leaves.
And what makes matters worse right now, the noise. Ruby is about to move to a different spot because of this worker down the street. She doesn't have to. He stops, she continues, and then this exchange between them as he walks by.
What's up, Steve? How are you?
Ruby, you're flat.
I know. This guy's always hassling me.
Yeah, she was flat. She is every time.
That smile gives it away. He's kidding.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
She's hungry to create. Often, Ruby does it on the spot.
Just watch it all the way again.
I wondered about something.
What are your dreams? What do you dream about?
To be happy.
That's simple.
Thank you. That's simple. I will always love you and with you forever. I'll be.
She's in a new relationship now that makes her happy.
How did I get so lucky to have found you?
For me, like, her voice just hits my soul. Like, you know, I don't know if it has to do with our connection, but her voice definitely hits my soul, and she always floors me with the new stuff she creates, that's for sure.
Her boyfriend Trevor has her back and her respect.
And I know that he respects me and I respect him.
He's given her inspiration to write this song.
How did I get so lucky to have found you?
The things you learn about the people you meet, Ruby tells me she had been homeless for a time.
Rio?
She tells me once a week, sometimes more.
Hey, I got sandwiches for you.
She delivers food to the homeless in her neighborhood.
Your friend hungry?
Donated sandwiches she gets from a Seattle bakery.
Here, this one's got bacon. Try to make sure they have food in their bellies because if nothing else, I can provide that, you know?
Ruby has figured out a way to live the life she wants, the life she deserves.
Can't you see? Can't you see? We're connected by the air we breathe.
So that's her story.
Thank you.
If we hadn't met Ruby, we wouldn't have met this guy, cleaning up the sidewalk of California Avenue. His name is Steve.
I'm eager to learn about your story.
There's some to it. There's some story there.
His story
Oh.
is next.
Hard and great.
His name, Dr. Christopher Dunch.
The carnage he caused was not a mistake or an accident.
His weapons of choice, scalpels and surgical tools.
Has the appearance that the patients were treated like cannon fodder.
This has not happened in the United States of America, where you can do such a procedure and have such complications.
With the jury, unanimously find that Christopher Daniel Dunch guilty.
Dunch got life. Convicted of injury to an elderly person, his botched surgeries led to 2 patient deaths, and more than 24 others were maimed or paralyzed. But this is not just a story about the notorious surgeon. It's about a broken system. It's called the National Practitioner Data Bank. The data bank was set up by Congress to flag bad doctors and protect patients. It requires hospitals, medical boards, and insurance carriers to report problem doctors.
It was created to prevent dangerous or incompetent doctors from traveling from hospital to hospital or state to state without being detected.
But a WFA review found hospitals seldom report doctors who have been sanctioned or lost their clinical privileges. 424 of Texas's 662 hospitals have not reported a single doctor since the databank opened 3 decades ago. Nationally, it doesn't get much better. Half of the 6,500 U.S. hospitals have never reported. So have any hospitals been disciplined for not reporting? A databank spokesman told us in an email, there have been no formal investigations, hearings, or sanctions for not reporting since the databank opened in 1990. Now let that sink in. In 30 years, not one hospital has been investigated, let alone sanctioned, for not reporting a bad doctor. Not even the hospitals that opted not to report Dr. Dunch. Dr. Sidney Wolf is a well-known consumer advocate.
What it says is that the doctors who are operating or taking care of patients in hospitals are getting away with not being reported or not being disciplined.
Wolf says one way hospitals have skirted reporting requirements is by sanctioning doctors for less than a month.
Hospitals can discipline someone for 5 days or 10 days or 20 or 25 days. None of those are reportable.
Let's take a more surgical look at the Texas numbers. Even among those hospitals that have reported, most have only turned in a single doctor since 1990, according to the databank's records. So who are they? Well, you don't have the right to know that. You cannot know which hospitals have reported or how often. And the names of the individual doctors, well, those are off limits too.
The system failed us. The hospitals, everyone that knew, what Dr. Dunch was doing, they all failed us.
One of Dunch's botched surgeries left Angela Mayfield's husband a prisoner of his own body.
I have neuropathic pain, full body now, and it doesn't go away.
Dunch's trial revealed how his bloody trail through North Texas began at Baylor Regional Medical Center in 2011. One surgery left Dunch's own best friend a quadriplegic. A month later, Kelly Martin bled to death in another botched surgery. The hospital let Dunch resign and didn't revoke or restrict his surgical privileges. As a result, they were not required to report him to the databank. Baylor even gave him this letter that helped him move on.
That loophole is used too often to allow doctors to quote, escape, end quote, to escape the consequences of peer review, the consequences of poor performance.
Baylor Scott and White officials told us the hospital acted in accordance with the databank's guidelines, and they've strengthened their processes for screening and evaluation of doctors. After Baylor, Dunch moved on to his next job. After just a few days at Dallas Medical Center, he cut through Floella Brown's spine. As she laid dying, he botched Mary Eford's surgery. The hospital withdrew Dunch's temporary privileges.
We did not want to take a chance of harming any patients.
But they also let him resign. Dallas Medical Center did not report him to the databank, although the guidelines indicate they should have done so. Dallas Medical Center officials say they are under new ownership with a new administration and adhere to reporting guidelines and industry standards. Dunch operated on Philip Mayfield at another surgery center.
When did you know something was wrong?
Immediately when I woke up from the surgery. I couldn't move from the neck down.
Why do you think it was allowed to happen?
Money. I honestly feel like that because of money.
After Mayfield's botched surgery, Dunch operated for 2 more months, the last time at University General Hospital. There, he nearly killed Jeff Glidewell during what should have been a routine surgery.
It looked like Christopher Dunch tried to decapitate Mr. Glidewell.
The Texas Medical Board suspended Dunch's license in June 2013. Only then did University General report him to the databank. University General has since closed.
We failed. We failed as a profession to acknowledge, recognize, and try to stop somebody who is harming the public.
Remember, information reported to the databank about specific doctors is a secret. Dunch would not speak to WFAA, but during the trial, his defense blamed his training and the hospitals that continued to let him operate. It's only because Dunch was prosecuted that we know which hospitals did and did not report him.
The factors that caused Dr. Dunch to get unleashed on the patients of Dallas could happen again.
3 years after Dunch got life, many experts say the failed system that hid Dunch is no different than before his first failed operation.